He wore a boxing rap to the biggest stage in music, and it took the internet about 4 minutes to lose its mind over it. Not a diamond chain, not a new tattoo, a hand wrap, the kind fighters tape on before they step into a ring, sitting on Kendrick Lamar's right hand at the 2026 Grammys, while he was up on stage collecting trophy after trophy. 5 of them, actually, and one that made him the most awarded rapper in Grammy history, passing Jay-Z. And instead of everyone just talking about the wins, the entire conversation turned into forensic analysis of a piece of cloth on his knuckles. Because here's the thing about Kendrick Lamar. He has never once done anything by accident. Every rollout, every visual, every silence, it all means something, and it usually means something you don't figure out until months later. So when his own creative partner, Dave Free, the man who has been shaping Kendrick's visual world since they were teenagers, posts a close-up photo of that exact hand wrap on his Instagram story, like he's pointing a flashlight right at it, you don't get to call that a coincidence. You get to start asking what album this man is building in the dark. And by the time we get to the part of this video where I show you what happened when fans got so hungry for that album, they built an entire fake one out of thin air, complete with a title and a release date. You're going to understand exactly how dangerous this level of anticipation has become. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Let's back up and understand why one piece of fabric on one hand at one award show turned into this much noise. Kendrick Lamar dropped GNX in November of 2024, a surprise album with 0 rollout, 0 advanced singles, nothing. It debuted at number 1, and it capped off a run where he had already flattened Drake in the most talked about rap beef in a decade with Not Like Us, a song that hit number 1 on the Hot 100 not once but twice. Since then, almost silence from Kendrick himself, aside from scattered features. That's about 2 years now. And in hip-hop, 2 years of quiet from the man who is arguably the biggest rapper alive is not actually quiet at all. It's a vacuum. And vacuums get filled with theories whether you feed them or not. The stakes here aren't just, will he drop music? The stakes are cultural. Kendrick is the guy other artists get measured against right now. When J. Cole was gearing up to finally release The Fall Off, fans were already comparing timelines and wondering if Kendrick would move in response. When Drake dropped his own project this year, Iceman, taking direct shots at Kendrick, Mustard, and the West Coast on wax, the whole internet immediately turned and asked the same question. Is Kendrick going to answer, or is he going to let the music speak for itself the way he always does? So when you put a hand wrap, a boxing motif, on a man who has already referenced fighters like Terrence Crawford in his own bars, at an award show where he's setting records, the question stops being, is this random, and starts being, what is he building toward, and when does it land? So let's actually walk through what we know, because there's more than just the hand wrap, and once you line it up, it stops looking like a coincidence and starts looking like a pattern. First, the Grammys moment itself, February 1st, 2026. Kendrick shows up suited up, hand wrapped like he just came from a gym session, not a stylist. Dave Free zooms in on it for his followers within hours. Then people started digging, because that's what this fan base does, and they found that Hida J3, one of Kendrick's longtime collaborators who appeared on GNX, had posted a clip from a Roy Jones Jr. boxing documentary around the same window, captioned with a nod to the Boogeyman. Now, is a caption from a featured artist on your last album hard proof of a concept album? No. But is it the kind of breadcrumb that this specific fanbase has learned, through years of pattern recognition, to take seriously? Also no coincidence, historically. Then you've got the smaller stuff stacking on top. Weeks later, footage surfaced from Top Dog Entertainment's annual Christmas event, where Kendrick was caught on camera telling rising Compton artist Chef Boy, and I'm going by what was reported here, something to the effect of, we got one coming. It's nothing, say less. Casual. Off the cuff. The kind of thing an artist says when he's not thinking about being recorded, which honestly makes it feel more real, not less. Around the same period, DJ Academics went on one of his live streams and said he was, in his words, under good authority to speculate that Kendrick has something up his sleeve for this year, and that his fans shouldn't expect his only 2026 appearance to be a guest verse on Baby Keem's new album, Sidalrino. None of this is confirmation. I want to be extremely clear about that before we go any further. This is Kendrick Lamar we're talking about, a man with an entire GNX cover mix-up that got flagged online, a man whose unreleased Tiramisu snippet from the GNX rollout still hasn't seen an official release almost 2 years later. Nothing about his timeline follows normal artist logic, and that's exactly what makes every single one of these breadcrumbs feel like it's worth chasing. And oh, do I have more for you? Because what happens next is where this story stops being cute internet detective work and turns into something that should honestly worry anybody who follows hip-hop news for a living. Because here's where it gets messy, And I mean genuinely messy in a way that should make you slow down before you retweet the next big Kendrick leak you see. In April of 2026, a rumor started tearing through social media that Kendrick was dropping an album called Fireman, supposedly timed for May 15th, positioned as a direct response to Drake's Iceman rollout. Fire versus Ice. Fans built an entire narrative around it. Stylized flame imagery started circulating. People were constructing jokes about a rollout battle between the two camps. And for a hot minute, this thing had the energy of confirmed news, even though nobody official had said a word. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because that's not a small thing. That's an entire fabricated album title and release date spreading with enough force that outlets had to step in and clarify it wasn't real. No confirmation ever came from PG Lang, Kendrick's own creative agency. No confirmation from any actual distributor. The imagery, the date, all of it traced back to nothing but internet momentum feeding on itself. Now think about what that actually tells you about where we are right now with this story. The appetite for a new Kendrick album is so intense, so starved, that the fan base didn't wait for real information. They manufactured it themselves and then treated their own creation as breaking news. That's not a knock on the fans, honestly. That's what 2 years of silence from an artist at the absolute peak of his powers does to an audience. It does feel a little uncomfortable when you consider it, does everybody actually understand how wild it is that a completely made-up album title got treated with the same energy as a confirmed Grammy win? That's the world we're living in right now with this story, and it's exactly why you have to separate what's actually reported from what's just vibes with a graphic attached. Now let's step back from the rumor mill for a second, because there's a bigger structural story happening underneath all of this that most channels are not going to walk you through. And it's the part that actually explains why Kendrick operates the way he does. GNX wasn't just a surprise album for the sake of surprise. It was his first full album released under his own label, PG Lang, through a distribution deal with Interscope, after he walked away from Top Dog Entertainment, the label that had built him from the ground up since he was a teenager. That matters more than people give it credit for. When you own your own label, you are not beholden to a marketing calendar built by a major label's quarterly release schedule. You don't need 6 weeks of single rollouts and press junkets to justify a recoupment budget to executives who need the numbers to hit a certain target before the fiscal quarter closes. You can sit on a finished album for as long as you want, because the only person who has to approve the release date is you. That is a genuinely rare position for an artist of Kendrick's size to be in, and it's the actual mechanical reason none of the traditional "an album is coming" signals apply to him. No lead single, no pre-save campaign, no Billboard countdown clock. Those are tools labels use to build artificial urgency for artists who need the machine to manufacture excitement. Kendrick doesn't need manufactured excitement. He has genuine, organic, borderline chaotic excitement happening around him constantly, to the point where his fans are inventing entire albums out of a hand wrap and a caption. That's the inverse of what most artists' PR teams are paying to simulate. And that changes how you should be reading every single piece of evidence in this story. A traditional artist drops hints because their team is executing a strategy. Kendrick drops hints, when he even means to drop them at all, almost as a byproduct of just existing in public, because his fan base has been trained by GNX itself, a genuinely no-warning surprise release, to treat literally everything he does as a potential signal. That is either the most efficient marketing position in the entire music industry right now, or it's not marketing at all, and he genuinely is just a private person who happens to wear a hand wrap, because he trains and it's comfortable. Both of those things can be true at once, and honestly, that ambiguity is the entire engine keeping this story alive. Here's the part that I think actually matters most in all of this, and it's not a shocking reveal. It's something a little more uncomfortable than that. The real story here isn't Kendrick Lamar is finally back. As of right now, there is no confirmed album, no confirmed title, no confirmed release window from Kendrick himself, from PG Lang, or from Interscope. What's actually confirmed is smaller and, in a way, more interesting. A hand wrap at an award show, a Dave-free repost that may or may not have been intentional signaling, an off-the-cuff comment caught on someone else's phone at a Christmas party, and a media personality saying he's heard things without naming a source we can verify. That's the entire confirmed record. Everything past that, the boxing concept album, the beef with the imagery Drake used on Iceman, the idea that this is some grand theatrical response to Kanye West's own boxing-themed project. All of that is fan theory stacked on fan theory, and some outlets have started reporting the theories themselves as if the theorizing is the news, which, in a sense, it has become. The actual truth bomb here is that the hip-hop rumor economy has gotten so fast and so hungry that it doesn't need real confirmation to generate real momentum anymore. Fireman proved that. A completely fabricated album title moved through the culture with the speed of a genuine leak, and plenty of people still believe some version of it happened, or that it's connected to whatever comes next. That should tell you something about how carefully you need to hold every single piece of insider information you see about this album going forward, mine included. I'm giving you what's actually been reported, with the actual qualifiers attached, because the alternative is contributing to exactly the kind of noise that turned a hand wrap into a phantom album title in the span of about 6 weeks. And look, despite all of that noise, here's what's real and what actually deserves the spotlight. Kendrick Lamar closed out an era where he did something almost nobody else in hip-hop has managed to do at his level. He won the defining beef of his generation, broke the all-time Grammy record for a rapper, headlined the Super Bowl, and he did every single bit of it without needing to explain himself, without a press run, without begging for attention. The guy doesn't chase the news cycle. The news cycle chases him, whether he gives it anything to chase or not. That's the difference between an artist who needs the machine and an artist the machine needs. While other rollouts get built entirely around manufactured urgency, ice sculptures and countdown clocks and pre-release interviews explaining the concept before anyone's heard a note, Kendrick has built a career on the opposite instinct. Say almost nothing, let the work speak when it's ready, and let the fans do the rest of the talking for you, even when that talking runs away from the truth a little. That discipline is why GNX landed the way it did in 2024, with zero notice, and still went straight to #1. It's why, 2 years later, a piece of cloth on his hand is treated with the same seriousness as an actual press release. You don't get that kind of trust by accident. You earn it by consistently delivering when you finally do show up, and Kendrick's entire catalog is the receipt for that. So where does that leave us? Honestly, exactly where it's left us for the better part of 2 years now. Waiting, watching, and reading way too much into hand wraps. But the pattern is genuinely there this time in a way that feels different from the usual quiet stretches. A Grammy sweep that put him in the history books. A creative partner who doesn't post things by accident. A direct comment about new music, even if it was casual and caught secondhand. A media personality with industry ties saying, publicly, that there's more coming this year. None of that is a release date. None of it is a title. But stacked together, it's more real signal than Kendrick Lamar has given the world in the 2 years since GNX dropped, and that alone is worth paying attention to. This is genuinely only the start of this story, not the end of it. Because the moment anything more concrete surfaces, whether that's an actual single, an actual title, or another Dave-free photo that turns out to mean something specific, this entire conversation is going to move fast, and I am not missing a second of it. So make sure you're subscribed before that happens.